Hi, my name is Tara Kachaturoff, and I'm the host of Michigan Entrepreneur, where we feature businesses from startup to stellar. Today, we have as our special guest, Shawn Robertson, hypnotherapist. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tara.
All right. Well, we're having you back on the program because we're going to talk about a really interesting topic. But before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and we'll start unpacking it from there.
Well, I'm a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist. I'm working out of Switzerland, but I work internationally. So I work with clients from all over the world, and we do it online. So it's a safe environment for everybody. I got into hypnosis because I needed something to help me with my own problems, and I felt stuck. I had some chronic pain. I had some other issues, and I started listening to hypnosis tapes, and I just kind of fell into the world of hypnosis and just couldn't get enough. And when I saw what it could do for people, I wanted to do it myself.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating area. And I think we met each other probably 3 years ago or 4 years ago. It might be 4 years ago at this point. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Um, but yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. And why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the various areas that you specialize in? Because a lot of hypnotists they do specialize. What about you?
Mhm. I do. I try to specialize in chronic pain and anxiety, but people would come to you for different things. But those are the two things that I specialize in.
Okay, and we're going to talk about one of those in much more detail today, and that is the topic of anxiety. I thought it would be great to have you back on to talk about this topic because not only are you an entrepreneur, so we got you there, but anxiety is a huge problem for entrepreneurs because everything is on you all the time. So this is a very, very relevant topic. So in order to get us started in this, why don't you before we start talking about anxiety, why don't you tell us a little bit about hypnosis and give us kind of an overview of what it is, because not everybody really knows what it is, and we'll have a little chat about that.
Okay. It's a funny question because I've never met two hypnotists who described it the same way. So everyone has their own opinion. But my opinion is, we have problems and they just seem to come from nowhere. And that's because most of what we do and how we react to things is just sort of automatic. It's like we have these automatic programs that run unconsciously. And some of them are really, most of them are good, like being able to drive or tie your shoes without thinking about it. But some of them are really harmful to us, like anxiety or sudden fears or panic attacks. And to me, hypnosis is just a way to bring these things up into our awareness so that we can sort of edit these unconscious programs. And hypnosis is also about opening up your mind to suggestions from the hypnotist that you can make changes in these programs that seem so rigid and locked in, but you can actually change a lot of things very quickly.
So it's all about like looking at our unconscious programming and then getting it reprogrammed.
That's what I would say, yes.
Okay. And why would you say more and more people are turning to hypnosis nowadays than even what they were doing 10 years ago? Why would you say that?
I think that hypnosis is just much a faster therapy. You can make changes very quickly rather than some talk style therapies can take a long time. And people will talk about how I've had my therapist for 5 years or something. And typically I see a client only a few times. So if we don't make changes, in a little while, then that I don't feel like it's working. So I
Yeah,
think that's the
and
main reason.
yeah, and I'm always concerned about when people, like you said, they say they've been doing the same thing for all these years. You're talking about the same problems. You haven't made any forward movement. And anybody who knows anything about the mind and neural circuitry, you're talking about the same old thing and just making sure you burn it in to your circuitry so that you can keep it till the day you die. I don't see how that is a solution, but that's just me. I'm not about keeping problems. I'm about solving problems. And hypnosis overall is it's what a lot of the people who are really successful use. They use it regularly,
Mm.
and they don't let one little niggling thing like stick in their unconscious. Once they surface it and know there's an issue, they go and they like hammer it out.
Mm.
Yeah, they don't have time. And like you said, you can get it done in a session, a couple sessions, 4 sessions. A lot of hypnotists work in 4 sessions, right? I mean,
Right? Yeah.
done and done. So um, Yeah, so today we want to talk about a little bit around anxiety.
Mhm.
Everybody's got it, man, more nowadays than any time in the history of anything. But what are some of the common anxiety type things that people come to you about, so people can kind of get an idea of the constellation of things and how different they all are?
Mhm. Yeah, I think the most common thing is just sort of a general anxiety, just a kind of an ongoing feeling that you're always in a sort of low level danger situation where your fight or flight response just never turns off. And it can be very draining emotionally and physically. That's the most common. But there are also more specific things like social anxiety, where a person suddenly feels like they can't go to school anymore, they can't go to work anymore, or certain fears, fear of flying, or anxiety around public speaking, things like that.
Yeah, and you talk about like general anxiety, and I can say pretty much everybody's got that, and probably more than ever. I think every time there's some sort of change societally, we get it amps it up just a little bit more. Like now
Mhm.
it's AI. Before it was 2020. Now it's like AI, and everybody freaking out about how it's literally changing how life is. That and
Mhm.
robotics and all that sort of thing. So I suspect you'll get a lot more people, you know, seeking out some sort of solution. And what's really odd is, I have worked with you in the past, um, and not actually about anxiety, about other things. And the weird thing is that the anxiety, a lot of it dissipated for different things that were going on for
Mm.
me. Like it was a side effect, and that's not even what we were focused on. It's kind of weird. That's why there's like so many benefits of hypnosis. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. You know what I mean?
That's right. I mean, in whatever problem someone comes to you with, there's other things tied to it. If you have chronic pain, then you probably have some fears or anxiety that's making it worse, or the chronic
Yes.
pain is making your anxiety worse, or whatever. All these things are connected. So if you fix anything, it helps, I think.
Yeah, it's awesome. So my first question to you is how does hypnosis work to alleviate anxiety? Like what's going on
Mhm.
in the process in the bigger picture?
So a lot of hypnotists, and I'm one of them, subscribe to this theory of the mind that it's like we have parts of us that have different roles, and they have their own needs and their own responsibilities. And we've all experienced this. When you wake up in the morning and you've got this strong, resilient part of you that's saying, I'm not going to eat any junk food today. I'm going to be very healthy. And then later that day, you're eating 2 bars of chocolate. Like these are two different parts of you, and they each have their own needs and wants, and they have their own feeling of they're doing their job. And you can think of a part of you that's giving you anxiety, and that part is trying to protect you in some way. So hypnosis, there's a term called parts negotiation, where we go directly to the part that's causing the problem, and we get it to either change its role or to do its role in a much more healthy way, and then get the other parts to agree to this. And that way you don't feel like you're fighting yourself. So that's one main way that hypnosis works. Another way for anxiety is just to calm a person down. If you have anxiety all the time, you just never relax. You're always tense. And in hypnosis can be very calming. And once you learn how to relax your body, that is a signal to your mind that you're not in danger and that you can get out of fight or flight mode and rest and recuperate.
Yeah, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Yeah, and that's interesting about the parts, and that we have all these different. Are they different personalities, or is
Kind
that
of. I
not
mean,
really
think of
the?
yourself, you're not the same when you're talking to your grandmother than you are when you're talking to a policeman or whatever. There's these different roles you take on. And everyone's had the experience of, I don't know what I was thinking when I did that, because that wasn't like another part of you.
Right, right. Yeah, like right now, I'm in television Tara mode,
Exactly.
and in an hour from now, I'm going to be in Tara talking to a colleague mode, and they are different. I act different. I'm going to look the same, but I'm pulling out different kinds of strengths and concerns and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Totally bring a different, I guess, personality to it all. It's not like you're have multiple personality disorder. It's
No,
just
no.
a different part of you. So how many of these parts do we have? Like,
I mean, some people don't actually identify the parts. They just generally talk as if we have parts, but other
right,
people will actually try to name all your parts. A
yeah.
woman did it for me one time, and I came up with about 15 parts that we could identify. It's pretty
Wow.
interesting,
Wow,
at
that's
least. And it could be
fascinating.
more. There could be a lot more, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really think of myself that way. I'm just
Mhm.
like one person, but if I had to think
Yeah.
about it, yes, I do act differently when I'm talking.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not interviewing everybody, although I do go into interview mode a lot with people. It's kind of hard after doing this for 19 years. But anyway,
Good.
let's talk a little bit about what are the benefits of using hypnosis for
Mhm.
dealing with anxiety and, getting it to a manageable situation versus other approaches people use for hypnosis.
For therapy. Yeah. Um, one of the things,
I mean,
like
for therapy, yeah,
yeah,
for getting over it.
with often if you go into a normal therapy, if we talked about this parts thing again, the person talking to the therapist is not the part that's having the problem. The part that's causing the problem is not there. So
Ah,
you can talk about it all the time. You can talk about it as much as you want. You're just like talking about your neighbor that you don't like, but the neighbor's not hearing any of this. So in hypnosis, you can go straight to the part that's actually causing the problem and deal with that part. So that's one real benefit.
so this kind of speaks to the whole thing why nobody makes any progress because they're kind of looking at it from a different person, a different part,
Hmm.
and they're kind of in like a different perceptual position to it. Then they don't even.
Right.
It's like a newspaper reporter. You have
Yeah.
no involvement in it whatsoever. You're just talking about how you are over here.
Right.
How could you possibly get better?
Right. It's because you're not talking to the person, the part that needs the help.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Do therapists even realize this? Guess not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that typical therapy, but
Yeah. So what's another benefit of using hypnosis over other processes?
well, a lot of times the anxiety may be caused by some event or events that happen in your past. Maybe you've had some traumatic things. And with hypnosis, one thing to do is to sort of look at these events in a safe way. Not to re-experience the trauma or something, but to sort of see things from a different perspective. And you can learn what you need to learn from it, but then you can let go of some of the anger and fear that's been creating the anxiety. So I think that's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, and you're kind of talking about it's not just the anxiety thing. There's a lot of things around the edges that
Mhm.
you're also dealing with. It's not just the thing. There's all the other things they constructed around it to keep the anxiety alive, right?
Right, right. And people
Okay.
can be anxious so long that that's who they think they are. Like they feel like that's normal. And some people are even sort of afraid to lose their anxiety because they feel like they're going to lose a part of themselves. But you're not losing anything. You're just gaining more strength, I would say.
Yeah, it becomes identity, right? Like there
Hmm.
are people who like they won't even get better like over a physical problem because they'll lose their identity and how they relate to everybody. Like
Yeah.
they identify with their illness that much that they couldn't give it up. It's who they are and who they want to be.
Yeah, it could be hard for people because if you struggle with an illness for a long time and you're on a Facebook group with a lot of other people that struggle, and then you suddenly come and say, "Hey, I got healed," those
Right.
people are not going to be very happy with you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, there's some other extra things that can keep you really stuck in some really unhappy ways of living. So,
Yeah.
is there any specific types of anxiety that hypnosis is particularly effective for, or would you say it works for pretty much any kind of anxiety because you're dealing with the mind? What would you say about that? Because some people say, "Oh, it would never work for me." Well,
Yeah. Well,
that
everyone
person
feels
it
like
wouldn't,
their problem is more difficult than everyone else's. But
right?
I mean, there's some things that hypnosis works really well on, and that's like very specific anxieties. If you have a public speaking anxiety or
Hmm.
anxiety about flying or a phobia, then that's particularly sort of easy to deal with hypnosis because it's probably only caused by one thing, and you can just deal with the one thing, the
I
one
see.
experience that caused it, or you can rehearse in your mind going through the thing that you're afraid of in different funny ways until you don't care about it anymore.
Yeah. So, when people like come to see you, I mean, you see some people in your office in Lucerne, Switzerland,
Mhm.
but you work a lot of with people internationally, so you're using Zoom. Um, can you explain a little bit about what it's like when somebody comes to you? Like, do they have to like write you a summary of their anxiety, or how does it work when somebody comes to a session with you?
Okay, good question. So I typically don't ask anybody any information on email or anything because I don't want there to be any written record that
Okay.
could be hacked or something. So we'll have a consulting call, and then they'll tell me then kind of what they want to deal with, and then we have our first session. Usually, I do 2 sessions now, and in the first session, there's a lot more talking than you would think because we need to talk about what's been going on, how the person's been experiencing their problem, how I see the problem, and then what they want to achieve. So we can define the goals. And a lot of the work is actually done there. And there's some hypnotic things going on while we're talking. But by the time, there's, I don't know, 30 minutes left in the session, then we get to the real hypnosis part where we start doing some hypnotic techniques. So what a person could expect is just a nice conversation for a while and me asking questions and kind of probing into what's really been going on with them. And then we would do some different techniques and they might close their eyes and relax. And some hypnotists will ask the person to speak. And I usually talk to people while they're in hypnosis, but others will use what they call ideomotor signals. They'll just have their, move your finger for yes, or move this other finger for no, so that the person doesn't have to talk. Sometimes a person is so relaxed, they don't feel like talking. So,
I know I don't like to talk. I don't, it's too much effort and you feel so good that you don't even want to interrupt it with like
right. So that's a good
talking.
thing about those signals. You can just use yes
Yeah.
or no.
I'm more like a head person because I don't even want to like deal with my hands. It feels like effort, you
There
know?
you go. You can use something else. You could
Yeah.
wrinkle your nose as the yes,
Yeah.
do
I'm
that.
like, or that's as much as I want to do during a session.
Which is
'Cause,
actually really good for online stuff because I can't see your hands anyway. So
yeah, you have to do a whole nother setup. Yeah, that's the rough part of doing what we do online because like I need to see your hands. And it's
right,
like the desk is down here. I mean, you need like a really wide angle to
right.
catch the whole person. Um, so when somebody comes out of hypnosis, do they remember? Like I'm totally conscious. Like
Mm-hmm.
I hear everything somebody says to me when I'm under. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really under, but I hear
Right.
everything. I'm as aware as I am right now. But
Mm-hmm.
when I come out of it, I don't usually remember what we did, even though I remember it all very detailed when we're in it.
Mm-hmm.
What is
It
that?
happens. It happens for different people in different ways, but a lot of times it can be sort of beneficial to have that amnesia. That because if you might start questioning, did this work? Was this the right way? But if you don't remember, you just realize you feel better and you don't know why. So sometimes I think maybe your mind does it on purpose. It just covers that stuff up so you don't question it too much. I don't really know, but a lot of people experience what you say. Like it's kind of like when you have a dream, and right after the dream you can tell it, but like a few minutes later you don't remember it, even though you were totally living the dream a minute ago.
It's exactly like that. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Do you know if we're in the same state that we are? Are we in the same? Are we in an alpha state? Because I think that's dream state, right? Or somewhat,
Yeah, there's
or delta or alpha.
I don't know if you ever heard of the Human Gibbons Project, but their theory is that hypnosis is basically the REM state of sleep,
Ah,
where crazy things can happen. When you go into that REM state, suddenly flying seems
yep.
perfectly normal, and hypnosis is like that kind of things that don't seem normal can seem normal. So I think there's a lot of similarities between those two.
And when somebody does just one session, will they see a noticeable difference, or does
A
it
lot of
kind
times,
of
yeah, I
depend?
expect the big change to happen in the first session, and then in the second session, we check on see how they got on. Sometimes new things come up, or maybe something didn't sit right with them, and so we need to change something, and then we try to make the changes more permanent. And if a person comes with lots of different issues, it might take 1 or 2 sessions per each issue, and they're not going to
Right.
like fix everything in the world that's wrong with the person. But
Right.
we
Exactly.
all have so many things. I mean, I could go to a hypnotist every day. It's like I've often thought I'd love to have my private chiropractor who just every day just
Oh
adjusted me.
God, yes, that would be
Yeah,
awesome. I would love to have like a daily hypnotist. If I could afford one, I'd have one.
yeah,
So
why not?
yeah, because it's like every time something comes up, get it handled.
That's
Get
right.
it handled. Okay, so um, what's the time frame between like a first session and a second session? Is there a particular time frame you wait, or is it? I mean, you don't do these consecutively, like in consecutive days, right?
I don't. Some people might, but I would usually wait 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed that things happen that day and the ensuing days, like massive changes. I don't care what kind of hypnosis. I've always noticed that there's just amazing things that happen afterwards. What exactly is going on in our minds as these new realizations or changes in behavior and habits happen? What's actually happening? What's being sorted out, so to speak?
I really don't know. It's kind of a mystery of hypnosis. That's why all the hypnotists don't want to talk about it too much. It's just your mind is such a complicated thing. We have models and nobody really knows how it works. But some of these things have been so rigid for so long that when you take it away, it's like your mind has to readjust to the new possibilities without this old program running. And I think that's part of the just the shaking up process. That couple of days when you feel a little bit weird or something feels
Yeah.
strange or whatever.
I always feel a little odd, but not in a bad way. It's always in like a like I feel like a new person that I've never experienced before.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like it's so like amazing. And I've told you about these types of things I've experienced. It's just wow. Um, and you feel like you're sorted out. I mean, that's how I feel, I guess I would
no, that's
say
good.
for myself. That's my experience. And I know everybody's different, but that's just my experience. And then I guess one of the questions I have is like, how does somebody know that they're ready for hypnosis? And like, what kind of person eventually ends up in hypnosis who's a really good candidate? Because not everybody is, right? Can you speak a little bit about that? Like, who's not a fit for it?
Well, there's a joke about hypnotists. Maybe you've heard it. Like, how many hypnotists does it take to change a light bulb? Just
Just,
one, but the light bulb has to really want to change.
uh, no, I haven't heard that. That's a good one.
So yeah,
The light
it's
bulb has to want to change. Explain
right.
that.
So if someone say for a lot of people go to hypnotists for to stop smoking, if they come and say, "I'm sick of smoking, make me stop," that's not going to work. That's not you. You've got to be. People talk about threshold, being at a place where something's got to change. It's got to be something. It's got to be me, and it's got to be now. And that feeling is when I can't go on this way anymore. This is just not. This is not good for me. And that's a time to go to a professional, to a hypnotist. And you can go before that, but you have to be ready to do some work. They're going to make it easy on you, but you need to make the changes necessary to to get the goals you want to achieve. So
Yeah, and
you can't just say fix me. I'm not going to do anything. I don't want to change anything. I've had clients who were like that. I say, well, are you going to exercise more? No. Do you want to do this? No. Do you want like I just want it to change, or they want someone else to change, but they don't want to do anything. So then that's you have to be willing to. I want to change myself, and I think when you're in that position where when you really know what you want and you're not there, that's the time. I know what I want. Sometimes the hypnotist can help you describe what you want. Sometimes you just know you don't want to be how you are anymore, but you don't really know what you want to be.
right, right. Yeah. And that's an interesting thing. Like people that come and say, just fix me.
Mm.
That's not how that's not how really life works, right?
No,
Got to be a
no,
part of you're part of the problem. You got to be part of the solution, you
right?
know. But I guess they have to be driven enough by the pain. I don't know anybody who really wants to live with anxiety.
No, no. Yeah, yeah,
So
it's
do
hard to
you?
know, but most people know, and I don't want to be this way anymore, and I'm willing to do something about it, and that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you really find like do you find like there's a certain any personality style of people who decide to go this route? I would say it's for people who want to have a quick solution. That's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm somebody who like wants something now and I want something to
Mhm.
happen and I want change now. I don't have 5 years, 5 years seems like an eternity. I don't have 5 years to screw around with a problem. So for me, like hypnosis would be like an obvious solution.
Mhm.
But is there a certain personality style or that you see or certain common characteristics of people who really, besides being at threshold, but
Mhm.
that are attracted to hypnosis as opposed to going towards other solutions?
Sometimes there's people that they're just at the end of their rope. They've tried a bunch of other things and they don't know what else to do, especially for
Yeah.
pain. If you've
Yeah.
been to the
Yeah.
doctor, you've done all these things, you just nothing is helping, and you're taking medication and it's just not working. So some people will come for that. And in fact, a lot of people, they've hypnosis is not the first thing they thought of. They've done a bunch of other things. They've done a bunch of work on themselves. They've read a bunch of books. They've been to therapists. So that's what I find. Generally, people are finally coming to hypnosis after they've tried a lot of other things. It's not most people's first go-to,
I'll
although
tell
other
you,
people are.
if I had known about it earlier in my life, I absolutely would have done it. I didn't really know about it.
Mm,
I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't know about it. I
yeah.
don't know how to explain that. Um, I just don't know why it took me so long to find it. But guess what? I spent years doing all those other things,
Mhm.
trying to go to doctors for help with the pain, trying to, deal with
Yeah.
that, reading books, exercises, all that kind of thing, and not realizing it's like it's in my head, right? Or a lot of it. I mean, I still
Oh,
feel
yeah.
pain, but I mean, I do feel
Mixed
pain.
all around, and it's all connected. That's right.
Yeah. It's a big kind of blob, but I mean, it's like I can eat food again and I can do certain things I couldn't do before. So, is everything perfect? No, but I'll tell you, it's changed my life. It's really changed my life in a lot of ways. I know we're going to be wrapping up in a little bit. Is there anything around anxiety before we do wrap up that
Mhm.
I maybe haven't covered that you'd like to talk about?
I was just going to offer something that people can do just in the present thing. A little bit of advice to people with anxiety is just to sort of see yourself as a little bit separate. There's a part of you that observes everything, like the part of you that's the I don't know how you would say this philosophically, but if I ask you how are you feeling, you say I'm not feeling well. Like how do you know that? Well, because there's a part of you that's watching you act this way. And so if you go to that part, if you're feeling really bad, just narrate what's going on with you. Say, like if it's for me, I'd say, well, he's acting very angry right now, or he's very sad, or he's very upset, and just describe what he's very upset. His stomach hurts. He's wanting to pound on something, and just be curious. I wonder how long he's going to do that. Interesting. It's almost like you're playing a character in a game.
Hmm.
And when you do that, it really you separate from the pain of the emotion, and you can get better much faster. When you realize that some of the things that feel so permanent, it's just a thought going through your head. He's thinking right now that he's worthless. Interesting. I wonder why he's thinking that. Instead of just like I am worthless, you think he's thinking that he's having the thought right now that he's worthless. It's a big changer. It's really powerful.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Great exercise. I appreciate that. And I will practice that even myself because I see the merit in that. So I'm going to
Absolutely.
ask you my one last question
Mhm.
is if you could give one piece of advice. I know you gave the exercise, but one other piece of advice to somebody who wants to reduce anxiety in their life, what would it be?
Well, besides that, I would definitely do that. Another thing is just practice concentrating on your breathing. Just calm yourself down and just take slow, easy breaths through your nose into your stomach and just calm yourself. We may have talked about it, but I've gone like ice swimming. It's not really in ice, but in very cold water. And I would never have been able to do that without breathing like that. So I think breathing is such a way to get your body under control. That's really powerful.
All
And
right.
then you can always go to check out some hypnotists near you and or one who's online and do a free consult with them and see if you like them or not. See if you like their approach.
Great advice. Well, I want to thank you so much, Shawn Robertson, hypnotherapist, for another wonderful interview. If you'd like more information about our program, please visit us at www.michiganentrepreneurtv.com. Please join me again in the future when I interview another enterprising entrepreneur. Until then, wishing you the best of business.